Hi guys, it's Will and welcome to another video. Just want to say before we begin that this is just my choice, guys, my opinion, okay? This is not a fact, this is only my opinion. So for that one guy in the comment section that feels like I've done an injustice, a disservice, a disgrace to a certain item, to you sir, I deeply apologize. But now moving into the video, here's my top 5 coolest weapon procs in vanilla World of Warcraft. Starting off at number 5, the Dark Edge of Insanity. This awesome two-handed axe drops from the last boss of AQ. Now not only is this axe one of the highest DPS weapons in the game, the thing that makes this axe so cool is its proc. The proc, called Glimpse of Madness, disorientates the target, causing it to wander aimlessly for up to 3 seconds. Now guys, you may not think that's a long time or particularly special, but the thing that makes this really cool is that it does not break during combat, which means that if you're a warrior in PvP and you've got this weapon, you get 3 seconds of pure mayhem on any target that you land this proc on. There is no other weapon in the game that has this kind of ability. Coming in at number 4, we've actually got 2 weapons, which is Arlok and Thekkel's Grasp. Now these weapons admittedly were not particularly useful in vanilla World of Warcraft, and I don't really see a lot of people using them on the private servers, and the reason for that is because they are a fist weapon and not a lot of the classes are kind of designed with fist weapons in mind so much, but still the proc that these things have is absolutely insane. Now these weapons, as you can probably guess, drop from High Priestess Arlok and the High Priest Thekkel in the Zul'Gurub raid, and what makes these weapons so sick is that the proc on the weapon actually has a chance to turn you into a freaking tiger. The proc called Primal Blessing is one of the craziest procs I have ever seen in the game, and not only does it do this, it gives you 300 extra attack power and it lasts for 12 seconds. Seeing this in game is incredibly rare. Like I said, it's not a particularly popular weapon, and coupled with the fact that it has such a low drop chance meant that not a lot of people ever got to use these weapons, but still a really insane proc, and I wish we'd seen more weapons that do this kind of thing in the game. I mean, can you imagine being in PvP and having this proc go off while you're fighting an opponent? He would shit his pants. At number 3, we've got the Blade of Chiron. Now this was a super cool two-handed sword. It summons the bound spirit of the Flamewalker Chiron. Now this sword was a really rare drop from the final boss of Upper Blackrock Spire, and once you actually triggered the proc, Chiron would cast any number of spells. These things ranged from like a spell that had a Bloodlust effect, an area slow, an area stun, a group heal and mana regen, and even a buff that gave you 50 extra stats. A fun little bit of trivia here for you guys is that during Wrath of the Lich King, you could actually equip 2 of these swords at the same time as a warrior. At number 2, thanks to the Baron's chat especially, we've got a weapon that needs no introduction. It is of course Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker. For those few who don't already know, this weapon had an awesome proc which blasts your enemy with lightning damage, dealing 209 nature damage and then jumping to additional nearby enemies. Each of these jumps reduced that victim's nature resistance by 17, and it affected up to 5 targets. Not only this, but your primary target is also consumed by a cyclone, slowing its attack speed by 20% for 12 seconds. Possibly one of the most famous weapons in World of Warcraft. At number 1, we've got one of my favourite weapons in the game, Dragon's Call. This is a one-handed sword that didn't look that special, but its proc was truly amazing, and I was actually lucky enough to get this sword once on my paladin. This weapon had a proc that would summon an emerald dragon whelp to fight for you in battle. It had an incredibly low drop chance from the last boss in Sunken Temple, and the really cool thing about this was that you were able to actually have more than one dragon whelp at a time. I believe the max was 3 whelps per sword, and when I say per sword guys, that's because you could actually equip 2 of these weapons if you were say a rogue or a warrior, which meant that at any given time you could have a max of 6 of these emerald dragon whelps all fighting for you at the same time. And they did a fair bit of DPS. They used a spell called Acid Spit, and each bolt from Acid Spit did 280 damage during the duration of the summon, and each of these could cast 3 of the bolts, which meant that each of the whelps did 840 damage each during that time. Doing a quick bit of maths there guys meant that if you got all 6 of the dragons, that meant a total of 5,040 extra damage from these 2 swords from just the whelps alone. Some honorary mentions that I'd just like to list: Sulfurous, Hand of Ragnaros, which had a chance on hit to hurl a fiery ball that caused 211 fire damage and an additional 52 damage over 10 seconds. And another one of my favourite weapons that didn't quite make the list because I know it's a bit of a controversial thing, and that is of course Ravager. Now this was a fairly low level item that only required you to be level 32, but the chance on hit on this was just amazing. It effectively caused its user to whirlwind, with their attacks attacking all nearby enemies for 9 seconds straight, which caused your weapon damage plus an additional 5 every 3 seconds. Now this weapon was one of my childhood favourites, and admittedly the proc was not ideal. It could stop you from doing other kinds of DPS, and in a one-on-one situation it was less than great, but when it came to heavy AoE for warriors at the time, this baby was absolutely insane. So there you go guys, I really hope that you liked my top 5 proc weapons in vanilla World of Warcraft. Again, these were just the ones that I thought were the coolest. I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. Thanks again for all the continued support that this channel gets. Please let me know what you thought of this kind of content in the comments section below. Let me know if you want to see any more of these kind of lists. Also let me know if there's any particular weapon that you think had a really special proc that should have made the list. I will definitely take a look at that. Again, I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you in the next video.